Hello friends, today I'm going to show you some examples of JavaScript arrays and how to use them. So let's have a brief explanation of what we are going to do and then move ahead. JavaScript arrays. An array is a special variable which can hold more than one value. For example, const cars equals to Fiat, Volvo, BMW. Why do we use arrays? For example, if you have a list of items, say a list of car names or student names, and then storing these variables of cars or students in a single variable could look like this. That car 1 equals to Fiat, car 2 equals to Volkswagen, car 3 equals to BMW, and so on. However, what if you want to loop through the cars and find a specific one? And what if you had just not three variables, but 300? The solution is an array. An array can hold many values under a single name, and you can access the values by referring to an index number. Creating an array. Using an array literal is the easiest way to create a JavaScript array. The syntax is const array name, item 1, item 2, and all of this in square brackets. It is a common practice to declare arrays with a const keyword. For example, const cars equals to Volkswagen, Fiat, BMW. And spaces and line breaks are not important. A declaration can span multiple lines. For example, const cars equals to square bracket begins and then the values of Volkswagen, Fiat, BMW, all these within double quotes and commas. Then we end the square bracket with semicolon. You can also create an array and then provide the elements. For this example, const cars equals to two square brackets and then cars 0 equals to Volkswagen, cars 1 equals to Fiat, cars 2 equals to BMW, and so on. The JavaScript new keyword. For example, const cars equals to square brackets as it was in the previous example. Now in the following example also creates an array and assigns values to it. Const cars equals to new array and in brackets Volkswagen, Fiat, BMW. The two examples above do exactly the same thing, and there is no need to use a new array. For simplicity, readability, and execution speed, use the array literal method. Accessing array elements. You can access an array element by referring to the index number. Say const cars equals to car values like Volkswagen, Fiat, BMW, and then let car equals to cars 0. So car will have the value of cars 0, the value that is in the constant cars array and the first element. Now array index starts with 0. 0 is the first element and 1 is the second element. Changing an array element. The statement changes the value of the first element in cars. Cars 0 equals to Opel. For example, const cars equals to Fiat, Volvo, BMW, and then we assign car 0 as the Opel. Now the output will be Opel, Volvo, BMW instead of Fiat, Volvo, and BMW. Converting an array to a string. The JavaScript method toString converts an array to a string of comma-separated array values. For example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, and mango. Document.getElementById test. Here, we are trying to find an element with the ID test and then put it in the dot inner HTML equals to fruits.toString, which means the array.toString. Now the result will be inside the test element or inside the element which has an ID test, we will have our array values. Now access the full array. With JavaScript, the full array can be accessed by referring to the array name. So let's say const cars equals to SAF Volvo BMW. Now document.getElementById test.innerHTML equals to the name of the array, which is cars. Arrays are objects. Arrays are a special type of objects. The type of operator in JavaScript returns object for arrays. But JavaScript arrays are best described as arrays. Arrays use numbers to access its elements. In this example, person 0 returns John. Const person equals to John Doe 46. So we have three elements, John, Doe, and 46. Now objects use names to access its members. In this example, person.firstName returns John. Object const person equals to first name John, last name Doe, and age is 46. Array elements can be objects. JavaScript variables can be objects. Arrays are special kind of objects. Because of this, you can have variables of different types in the same array. You can have objects in an array, you can have functions in an array, you can have arrays in an array. So here, my array 0 equals to date.now, which means the first element will be a date. The second element, my array 1 equals to my function, which is a function, and my array 2 equals to my cars, where my cars could be another array. Array properties and methods. The real strength of JavaScript arrays are the built-in array properties and methods. So cars.length will return the number of elements inside the cars array. Cars.sort will sort the array. Now the length property. The length property of an array returns the value of an array, the number of array elements. Example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, and mango, and the length, let length equals to fruits.length. The length property is always one more than the highest array index. If there are four elements in the array, array.length would give us the value of the number of elements. So accessing the first array element, for example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, mango, and let fruit equals to fruits of 0. This would give fruits equals to the first element. Accessing the last element, this is how to access the last element. For example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, mango. That fruit equals to fruits of fruits.length minus 1, which is 3. Now this one will give us the value of the third of the fourth element from the fruits array, which means fruits and square brackets 3, and that would give us mango. Looping array elements. One way to loop through an array is using a for loop. For example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, mango, and let flength equals to fruits.length, let text equals to ul, for let I equals to 0, I less than flength, I plus plus, text plus equals to li plus fruits of I plus slash li, text plus slash ul. So this one using a for loop to loop through the elements inside the array and then print them inside an ul li element. You can also use the array.forEach function. For example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, mango, and let text equals to ul fruits.forEach my function, where my function will loop through all the values of the array and then text plus equals to slash ul. So here, whatever we had in the text, we will add li and slash li values to it, and then we will have the text closed with slash ul. Now, adding array elements. The easiest way to add a new element to an array is using the push method. For example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, and fruits.push lemon. So here we are adding a new element, lemon, to fruits. The new element can also be added to an array using the length property. For example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, and fruits of fruits.length equals to lemon, which means the number of elements, so fruits of third, which means an element which is not available, and then we will assign lemon to the third or the fourth element. Adding array elements. Here, warning. Adding elements with high indexes can create undefined holes in an array. For example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple, and fruit 6 equals to lemon, which creates undefined holes in fruits because we do not have the fourth and the fifth element. Associative array elements. Many programming languages support arrays with named indexes. Arrays with named indexes are called associative arrays or hashes. JavaScript does not support arrays with named indexes. In JavaScript, arrays always use numbered indexes. The easiest way to add a new element to an array is using the push method. For example, const equals to a const person equals to open and closing square brackets, and person 0 equals to John, person 1 equals to Doe, person 2 equals to 46, and person dot length will return 3, and person dot 0 will return John because that's the value of the first element. Associative array elements warning. If you use named indexes, JavaScript will redefine the array to an object. After that, some array methods and properties will produce incorrect results. For example, const person equals to open closing square brackets, person first name equals to John Doe, person last name equals to Doe, first name equals to John and last name equals to Doe, person age equals to 46. Now person dot length will return a 0 and person 0 will return an undefined value because we used named indexes. The difference between arrays and objects. Arrays and objects. Arrays use numbered indexes and objects use named indexes. When to use arrays and when to use objects. JavaScript does not support associative arrays. You should use objects when you want the element names to be strings or text. You should use arrays when you want the element names to be numbers. Now the new array. JavaScript has a built-in array constructor, the new array method, but you can safely use square brackets instead. These two different statements both create a new empty array named points. Const points equals to new array, const points equals to open closing square brackets. And these two different statements both create a new array containing 6 numbers. Const points equals to new array 40, 100, 1, 5, 25, 10, and const points equals to 40, 100, 1, 5, 25, 10. The new keyword can produce some unexpected results where this one will create an array with 3 elements. Const points equals to new array with 3 elements, and if we want 2 elements then we assign 2 values, and if we want 1 element and we provide just 1 value in this way where const points equals to new array and in brackets 40, this can return an error, a common error. Now, error with similarities. Const points 40 in square brackets is not the same as const points equals to new array 40. The difference. The first one creates an array with 1 element, const points equals to 40 in square brackets. The next one creates an array with 40 undefined elements, const points equals to new array in brackets 40. Recognizing an array. The common question is, how do I know if a variable is an array? The problem is that JavaScript operator type of returns object. For example, const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple in square brackets and double quotes and commas. Let type equals to type of fruits. The type of operator returns object because a JavaScript array is an object. The solution 1. To solve this problem, ECMA Script 5 or JavaScript 2009 defined a new method, array.isArray. So array.isArray fruits will show up as an array. And the solution 2 is the instance of operator returns true if an object is created by a given constructor. So const fruits equals to banana, orange, apple. Now fruits instance of array. This one will give us the instance of an array and it will return true. Let's see them in action. The first program. We have const variable cars where cars equals to Volkswagen, Fiat and BMW, and we are going to print the value of cars inside an element which has an ID demo. So here the ID demo is a paragraph and we are trying to print the value of the constant array cars. Let's see that in action. You can see that it's printing the values inside the paragraph, and it's printing all the values, say Volkswagen, Fiat, and BMW. Here. All right. So that was the first one. Let's move on to the next one, which says the same values, but that's in a different way. It's defined with each index. The first one did not have any index. It was simply printing the values of all the elements, but here we're trying to print all of them using the index numbers. Let's see this in action. The same thing. Here also you get the three values inside a paragraph. However, it was initially assigned using the index numbers. The previous one did not have any index number, and this one has index number assignment, and we are printing the entire array with the array name. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is the third one. All right, the third one says that spaces and line breaks are not important in case of an array. Even though we have line breaks, it still would work. Let's run this and see it in action. Right here you can see that even if we have it in line breaks, it's still printing the values of the array. Okay. So that's how it works. Now we will move on to the next one, which is we will provide the element indexes and try to print them. So here we are assigning the values using indexes, and then we will try to print them. It works the same way. Now the next one, we would use the new keyword in this one. So const cars or const the array name equals to new array and values inside it, and try to print the entire value using the uh, array name. Yep, this one works fine. Now accessing the array elements. We can access array elements by referring to the index number as here. So here I'm trying to access the value of index 0, which is Volkswagen. Let's run this. Absolutely. It read the value inside the paragraph element. Now we will change an array element and try to read the value. So previously the value was Volkswagen, Fiat, and BMW. Now we reassign the value to the first element as Opel. So this one should read Opel, Fiat, and BMW. Run this one and see it. Opel, Fiat, and BMW. Trying to zoom in. Perfect. Alright, moving ahead to the next one, we will convert an array to a string variable and see the output. So the sixth one, converting an array element. What do we have here? We have fruits coconut, orange, pineapple, and mango. And then we are converting that to a string variable and then printing it inside the HTML element, which is a paragraph. Run this one and see the output. Perfect. So this one is in a string value. Now moving next, we will have the full array as the access element. So 7 1. Here we are the entire array value. We're trying to print that. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Don't need to. Perfect. See that it's reading all the values from the array with the array name. Now we will move on to arrays as objects. So that one is the eighth element here. So here it says that arrays use numbers to access its elements. So here we are trying to read the person at the first element. Okay. So arrays are like special type of objects, and we are trying to read the value of the first element in the object. Let's run that. Why this error? First element is Sam, and it read it correctly. Now moving ahead to the object. Names to access objects. Okay. Numbers to access the arrays and names to access the object. Here this is a named array. Like the elements are all named values. You can see that the first name has a Sam, last name has a Smith, and age has a 49. Different types of values, and we are trying to read the values by using the array index name. Print this one and see the output. Perfect. We try to read the value of the first name and it's printing that one. Yeah, got it. Moving ahead. Array elements can be objects. Okay, so the next one is here, the length property. The length property of an array, it returns the length of an array. So here we have fruits and we have 4 different values in it, and I'm trying to print the size of this array, and we will print that inside the HTML element, that is the paragraph, and run this application, and we see that its size is 4. Perfect. Moving ahead, we will go on to access the first element from the fruits. So the next one is here. We initially had done this one, but yeah, just starting from 0, so I'll just show it's similar to one of the programs that we did previously. Okay, so the first one is read using the index number, coconut. Perfect. Moving on to the next one, accessing the last element. So here The last element would be read by the full length minus 1, which is 4 minus 1, that's 3. So the index value of the last element is 3. Now it will try to print that one inside the HTML element. You can see that the last value is mango and it's printing that one. Perfect. Now we will move on to the next one, which is looping through array elements. You can see that I'm looping through the values of all the fruits and using a for loop. So let I equals to 0, I less than the length value, and I plus plus. This will loop on and it will print all the values using the ul and li. Let's run this one. Perfect. We got the values. The next one stands with for each. So the for each loop will also work similar to the for loop. And you can see that we are calling the function for each array element. So here we have a function, and that is only adding values from the array to the text variable, and inside the array dot for each we are calling the function. Okay, I'll share this code with you so that that will make sense to you if you want to read that. So let's try to run this program and see how it runs. Perfect. You can see that for each element inside the array, it's printing those values inside the li. Okay. So how is it doing that? So it's like the array name dot for each, and inside that for each we are calling the function which will keep on adding elements to the text variable. Okay. Now moving ahead, we will go ahead to the adding array elements. So this one will add more elements to your array. First of all, we declared the array with three variables, with three values. We printed that. No, we used another function to push another element inside the array, and then with a button click we are trying to print the reassigned value. Let's run this one and see. It is that the push method appends a new element to an array. Initially it was three elements. Now on the button click it's calling the function which is pushing another element to the array. That's how you add elements during runtime to an array. We have another way of adding elements to the array using the array length. You can see that initially we declared with 3, printed that one, and on the button click we are calling the function, and the function here is using the array name and it's assigning a value to the length index. So the length will always say that the length is 3. However, the index of 3 is not available. So it will assign a new value that is QE to the index, the length index number, and then it will print that one. See this in action now. Three elements, I'm going to assign another one, and it ran through. So this one is using the array dot length. Now next we would move on to the next example of associative arrays. However, before that, we will check another error, an array variable which will show an error. So that is the 17th undefined whole. What happened in the undefined whole is we previously had three elements, then we assigned the fourth element to the sixth index of the array. So the fourth and fifth index did not have any value. And if I try to run this one, it definitely should throw an error. You see, it's giving an undefined value. Although it's not an error, but it's giving us an undefined because there is no value assigned to these values. The third, fourth, and fifth does not have a value. We assigned the element to the sixth index, but 3, 4, and fifth did not have. That's why it has an undefined value. Now moving on to the associative array, 18th program. So here we are assigning values using the index, and this one is having all types of values. It is having string and it's also having numeric values. So um, but we are printing the first element and the length of the array. So let's see this, if this one works. Yes, it's printing both the values, so length and the first element. So if we modify this one and we try to print another one, let's say I will use, I'll also try to print the number, then the length. Perfect, it works. It treats the array as an object, that's why it printed all the values irrespective of their data types. Now we will move on and to the next one, incorrect results. Before moving ahead, I would like to inform you that if you used named indexes, JavaScript will redefine the array to an object, and after that, some array methods and properties will produce incorrect results. So this one may give us incorrect results. Let's see them in action. Here you can see that it's giving us an undefined value. Why? Because we are using named indexes, okay, but we are trying to print the numbered index, so that one will definitely give us an error. I mean incorrect result, because we are trying to print the value with numbered index, and in this case, if instead of using the number, if I try to print the value, let's rerun this one, it worked. Okay, this one did not throw an undefined value. And because I'm trying to print the length, it is not able to figure out the length because it does not have any index. So it's showing us a 0 in that case. Okay. Now moving ahead to the next one with the difference between arrays and objects. Okay. So we will do the first one with a new array, 20th. So we will do the first one with new. Try to print this one. So new array points 0. It's not giving me any answer. It's not returning any value here. So let me change this one. The first element is printed now. Instead of giving me any error, it's printing the value now. Why? Because I used the new array, so it was like creating an instance or like creating an object, but it did not work. Okay. Now the next one we will see with a difference, that is we are using the new array, but we are not putting any index value here. We are simply trying to print the entire array name. Let's run this one. Entire name did not give us any error. It did print the values. Okay. If I will have used any index, then it would might have thrown an error, but here it's just printing the value. Now the next one, here we are doing with the same thing with two array elements. The first one was with three elements. Now we are trying to print the value with two elements and checking if it's giving us an error. So it should not, I expect. Yeah, it did not throw us any error. Works just fine. After two elements, we will try to do another example with one element. Okay, and I think this one might show us an error. So we will do a debug. And yes, it's not giving us any result. We did not get any result here. Why? Because new array and in bracket 40, it's unable to detect what kind of array is it. Okay. If we might have used square brackets, then this one would have created an element. But here it's unable to detect the type of element. So it's just printing commas in that place. Okay. Now we will move on to the next one, which is 24th here. How to print one element simply. Okay. No new keyword here, simply the value. So it has only one element and the value is 60, and I'm trying to print the entire array and it's giving me the value as 60. This is how you work with one element, or the correct way of printing one element. Now moving ahead, we will go to the next one, which is an undefined value. 40 arrays and that is undefined. Avoid using new array. And I'm trying to print 40. It's very similar to the previous one, and then I'm trying to print the value of the first index. So this is definitely going to give me an incorrect response. Yes, as expected. There is no value defined in the array element with square brackets. That's why it's unable to find that one. And this happens because of using only one element. If I use this with two elements, this one will give me two values without an error. Perfect. Saw that? So it's only happening because of one element with brackets. Now we will move on to the next one, 26, which is recognizing an array. Okay. How do we recognize an array? Because JavaScript thinks an array is an object. So if I try to run this one, it shows that JavaScript array is an object. When using the type of keyword, it gives me that it's an object. Type of operator. There is a solution to it though. We will run this one on the next example, so which is 27. The array.isArray. This one is going to give us the type of value. The type of value the array is. Let's run this one. It says that it's true. It's returning a true here. Array.isArray. This isArray will return a false if it's not an array type of variable. If I put in a string here, it's going to give me false. Reload this program. You can see that it's returning a false here. So array.isArray returns a true or false if the value is not an array type. Let's put that back to what it was. Now moving ahead, we have one more solution which is going to give us an example. Where is that one? Instance of. What does the instance of array give us? The instance of operator will return true when it's used in an array. Let's try to run this one. It returns true as expected, and if I try to make it a string and rerun the program, this one returns a false. Okay, so the instance of operator, it works with true or false if the value of the object is an array. All right, so that was all about this tutorial. I hope we did pretty much with the array functions and array variables and how to take care of an array and how to use them. So we will have a couple of videos in the next few sessions, and you can stay connected and stay tuned and happy coding. Thank you.